today we're going to color Mario and Luigi, and I'm going to show you how to use a color source to do that. The first thing we want to do is start a new layer, and we will double click on that and name it Mario and Luigi. And all of our color for Mario and Luigi will be going on that layer. Okay, so using a color source, I put in your My Connect module, if you'll go to that, in the resources, there's something called Mario and Luigi color source. I want you to go ahead and download that. Make sure you go into your folder. And if you've organized your folder, make sure you get into the folder that you're using for this module for Mario and Luigi, and go ahead and save it in there. Okay, so if I go over to my desktop, and I want to go into that folder and find that color sample, which is right here. Now this is a JPEG, so I cannot just double click on it. I need to right click, open with Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop CC. Okay, and there is my color source. Now I have up here, you'll see I have two tabs, my Mario and Luigi postcard and my color sample. What I want to do is I want to pull this out so I can see both of them together. So I'm pulling this tab off of that, and it'll create this little smaller picture. And I'm going to move that off into the corner. If I click on my regular one, I can still see it over there and I can get to it easily. So that's a good place for it right there. Before we start doing this though, one thing I do want to point out, I'm going to hit Command 0 to fit that on page so we can see that really well. You'll notice that these are not solid colors, that this Mario and Luigi has some highlighting and some shading going on. And we're actually going to be doing that with our own Mario and Luigi postcard. But I want to point it out to you so that when you grab a color, you need to make sure you're grabbing in the right area. So for example, I'm going to zoom in on Mario's leg right here where I can see a lot of different pixel colors happening. I'm going to zoom way into the pixel data. So right now you're starting to see the little squares of pixel color. So if I were to select the color over here, I'd be getting the true blue of his pants. But if I was going to click over in this area where I have a darker blue, that's more of a shaded area. And I can move around over here and I can see some highlighted blue areas. So you want to be really careful and make sure that you're just clicking in the actual true blue or the true color of whatever it is you're grabbing. Okay, so let me go to Command 0 again to fit that back. And I will reduce the size of this by dragging it and hitting Command minus a few times. I just hit Command minus to get it smaller so I can move it over to that corner once again. Okay, so I have myself set up. So while on the Mario and Luigi layer, you want to go over to your magic wand. Again, it's bundled with the quick selection tool. You may have to click and hold that. And you also want to make sure that sample all layers is still checked. If it's not, go ahead and check that at the top. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with, let's see, we'll start with Luigi's green shirt and hat. So I'm going to go ahead and use my magic wand to select those areas, and remember to hold Shift to select multiple areas. So I have his hat, and I need to select his shirt areas that would also have this green color. Now in my color sample, I noticed the L on his hat is black, but I've seen it a lot of times where the L is the color of his shirt and hat as well. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that option. Okay, so now that I have all of the areas that should be this Luigi green color, I'm going to come over to the Tools palette and find my eyedropper tool, which is right here. Okay, with my eyedropper, I'm coming over to Luigi on this other image, and up here it looks highlighted, down here it looks shaded, so I'm going to click right about here. I want to get this green. Okay, and you'll notice that green showed up here on my color picker and also here. Now what I want to do is I want to use the paint bucket to dump that color in, and that color will only go where I have my selection. The paint bucket is bundled with the gradient, remember, so if your paint bucket's not showing, click and hold and go down to the paint bucket tool. And then just come over here and dump the color. And make sure you are on your Mario and Luigi layer when you dump that color. Otherwise, you're putting it on the wrong layer. Okay, so that looks pretty good. It doesn't look like I missed a spot. Hold on, I take that back. If I zoom in really close here, I see that I did miss a spot. That's okay. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my magic wand. I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. Select that little spot that I missed. Go back to my paint bucket and I'll go ahead and fill that in. Then Command D, Command 0 to fit back on page. Okay, so Luigi's looking pretty good there. So let's work on Mario a little bit. Again, going back to my magic wand, I will select all the areas of Mario that are this red color. And holding Shift, I also want to get that M on his hat, his shirt, his sleeves, and I think I've got it. Okay, so now I'm going to move this over just a little bit so I can get that red. Okay, so going to my eyedropper tool, coming over to Mario, I want to get a nice true red without highlight or shade, so I'll click right there on his chest. That looks pretty good. I'm going over to my paint bucket and I'm going to dump that in. Okay, so that looks pretty good, except you may notice that I missed part of that M, so I'm going to need to zoom in to get a better selection on that. So Command D. Back to my magic wand, select, back to my paint bucket, and dump. Command D to deselect, Command 0 to zoom out. Okay, next we will do Mario's overalls. Zooming out to make sure that looks good. Command D to deselect. Okay, and you'll notice that Luigi's overalls are a little bit of a different blue, so we'll do those next. Okay, now I'm going to get their faces. We'll start with Luigi. You'll notice that when I filled in his face color, that because we have an open eye here, that filled in with a skin color, and I'll show you how to fix that in a minute. The same thing's going to happen on Mario. So let's do Mario next. And again, their skin color is slightly different, which is why I'm doing these guys separate. All right, before we take care of that eye, let's do their hair. Their hair looks about the same color, so we'll go ahead and do that all together. And I think I'll include their eyebrows with that. And their mustaches are a little bit darker, but I think it's okay if we include that. And we'll do that all in one shot. So we have the hair, the eyebrows, and the mustaches. And now let's take care of those shoes. Being careful not to accidentally hit the black outline of the shoe when you do this. Getting really close here. Let's take care of those buttons that are gold. Now, a lot of people will argue that this is a button right here on Mario, but I think if you pay attention to the positioning, you'll realize that's actually the end of his thumb, because his button would be over in this area. And finally, we have Luigi's socks, and then we'll take care of those eyes and we'll be just about done. Since if you look at his socks carefully, they are red and white stripes, so we're going to select just every other area here of his socks. Okay, that looks really good. So finally, we're going to take care of that eye area. If we come over to our color picker, we'll just switch to default black and white and toggle it so that the white is on top. And then I want to use my zoom tool to zoom in. We'll start with Luigi. We're going to zoom into Luigi's eye here. And when I do this, I'm going to use my paintbrush, and I want to paint inside here, but I don't want to get any paint on the black area of his eye. So to avoid that, what I want to do is I want to go to my magic wand, and I'm going to click right here in the middle of his eye on the skin color. And so what that does is it selects the skin color, which means anything that doesn't have a selection, like this black area of his eye, will not get any paint. So going to my paintbrush, I'm going to put this on a hard brush with 100% hardness. Come out to my Luigi picture. I clicked one time there, and I'm just going to very carefully paint this in. Now I don't have to be super careful around the black because it won't go on the black. However, on these edges, if I go out too far like that, it will go to the other side of the black. So I do have to be somewhat careful. And there's a really easy way to take care of the bottom here. And what you can do is using the bracket. So I'm using the right bracket to increase the size. If I increase it to the size of just the bottom of that eye and do one click, that'll give me a nice curve there at the bottom of his eye. Now I can Command D and move over to Mario because he has the same thing going on. So before I start, go to my magic wand, select the skin area, go to my paintbrush. I can start from the bottom up this time if I want, since I already have that nice big circle. Then I will use the left bracket to decrease it so I can get in there a little bit better. That's it for today. Please let me know if you have any questions.